I had an unusual event when I was a child. I was only 5 years old and my brother was 2.5. One evening, when we lived in the village, my mother gave us a bucket and sent us out to buy milk. The milkmaid's house was 100 meters away from us, and we knew the road well. We went, but suddenly something happened. It's hard to describe. Everything around us froze, as if in a photograph. And there was complete silence in the air, as if we were in a closed space. We became very scared. When we reached the milkmaid's house, we knocked. But no one answered. Deciding to enter, we opened the gate. Inside the house was completely empty. All the doors and windows were open. But no one was there. We looked into the barn, and there was nothing there either. No cows. No hay, not even a smell. Last of all, we went into the summer kitchen. There was a light on. Plates of pea soup on the table, and pieces of bread lying next to it. There were toys lying on the floor, and a plastic train hanging on a string, and no one was there. It was really scary. We rushed home, and somewhere in the middle of the journey, everything suddenly returned. Sounds, people, everyday life. Mom scolded us for coming back without milk and sent my uncle there. He went and came back quickly, saying everyone was home and having dinner. It was strange. No one believed us. My brother also remembers this incident, even though he was very young.
I've told my story of displacement or hallucination somewhere before, but let me repeat it here. At the time, I was studying at a music college. I want to make it clear in advance that I have no mental health issues or bad habits that can cause hallucinations. There was one day when I was coming home pretty early. I got off at my stop and approached the crosswalk, waiting for the traffic light to turn green. Suddenly, I was stunned, looking at the panorama across the street. I saw my neighborhood and buildings, but as if in a different reality, the future. The buildings were rounded and cylindrical, with facades of metal, silver matte, and glossy. Almost all of the buildings had very small windows, and some houses had tall spires towering over them. This futuristic picture in silver colors was harmonious and static, but absolutely real. Unfortunately, I didn't see any flying cars, nor did I see any people. My heart wasn't racing, and I didn't feel fear. Just by chance, it was as if I was peeking into the life of my hometown, but in a different configuration, space, or time. The sight was etched into my memory, and nothing like it ever happened again, even though it had been almost 20 years. A few seconds of vision made me doubt many familiar things. The objectivity of our reality. It was after this incident that I began to take an interest in science fiction. Until then, I had not been attracted to it.
I want to share my observations from 2020. That year, during the pandemic, I went out of town and started living in a dacha. I observed nature from morning to evening, something I hadn't been able to do before when I worked in an office. But now, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, I could enjoy the nature around me. One day, I was standing by a net-fenced flowerbed where strawberries were growing. A butterfly flew into the net. It was too small to fly through the mesh. I felt sorry for her and was wondering how to get her out of there. But suddenly, as if invisible, she flew through the mesh and disappeared into the distance. I was left with my mouth open, watching this amazing moment. It was a kind of discovery for me. This world for us is material and solid, but for the butterfly it is completely different. It exists in another space, although we can see it. And another incident happened to me in the evening. I was trying to catch a moth that had wandered into the room. It was hitting the table lamp, rustling and flitting about. Finally, I decided to let it out. Several times I caught it in the palm of my hand, but it somehow ended up back in the wild. I closed the window to keep the other moths away, but I couldn't catch this one. So I watch it hovering over the chandelier, flapping its wings, but not flying anywhere. Suddenly it starts to flicker, that is. It disappears and reappears a few seconds later. Then it's gone. No rustling of wings, nothing. I looked for him everywhere, but he was gone. The window was closed, the lights were on in the room, but he was gone. It was like teleportation. Some insects have an ability we can't comprehend in our real world. We became heavy in vibration, and our world was not as we see it. We all seem to be under hypnosis.